Hello, my name is Oluwatosin Olasende. I'm the founder of Money Africa. Money Africa is a financial literacy platform where we educate you about all things money. We bring to you Money Talks, which is Money Africa's podcast. And today we have a very interesting topic. Can you guess what that topic is? Think about retirement, old age, setting something aside. It's actually about pensions. I have here with me the one and only Tunji Andrews.
Oh my God. I don't know how to respond to that. Hi everyone, great to be on the podcast. I saw the first edition and I was thinking to myself, why am I not on this?
Here you are.
Yes.
Fantastic. So Tunji, can you tell us about what you've been doing for the past decade?
Woo. So a greater part of my energy has been spent around financial inclusion, propagating the work around financial inclusion, just getting more people into the financial net. And there's a reason to it before people think I'm just some crazy dude. I think about in 2010, I sat through a lecture where somebody spoke about how financial inclusion, gets more people. So the general idea is that if more people have their money in the system, there's more money to lend to other people. So there's a multiplier effect. And I felt, hearing that, I was like, oh my God, I've just discovered fire. This is how we're going to save Africa. Let's go. And for the past decade, I've been doing that. Over the last maybe 5 years, I've started to have an inflection, and it's that inflection that led me to what I do now. Because I thought, let's just teach people. Let's just go out. Let's just make the noise. Let's just shame the banks to do better. Let's just I was always doing that, but then I had an inflection point, and I realized there's something deeper. And if we're going to really save, or at least move the needle of poverty in Africa, and that's that. I feel that's my life's mission and goal. Yeah,
I understand. I can relate. For a bit of info, do you know that Tunji and I worked together in the past?
Yes,
we used to work at Bloomberg TV Africa then, and we used to actually sit side by side right there. So it's like seeing magic happen again.
Could you tell us how the market was today?
The market went high, and then those are the top gainers in the market.
Yes, I remember that.
So I'm excited to see you doing the work you're doing now. I'm very proud of you, and
thank you very much.
I'm very proud. Now, for those of us watching this that are probably thinking, what is the buzz about pensions and things like that? So I just want to go into a bit of detail, right? So we have something called the RSA. Do you want to talk to them about what RSA means?
So that's the retirement savings account. It's basically your bank account, but for your retirement. So it operates in a very similar fashion, but it's just that you cannot, at least in some certain extent, you can't withdraw the way you would withdraw from your normal bank account. But it's held by the pension fund administrator, but with the pension fund custodian. I'm sure we'll explain all of that in detail. But if you, as a Nigerian, just the same way you have a BVN, you have an RSA account, and you only have one. And you have a pension identification number, we call it PIN in the industry, and it is the similar version. It's the BVN of the pension industry, and you can only basically have one as a Nigerian.
Fantastic. And even when you move jobs, you can move that PIN to your next job, and it just continues.
Absolutely.
Great. So now let me quickly talk to you about something, right? In terms of those pensions, we have 3 different categories. The first category is called the contributory pension scheme. So these are people in your regular 9 to 5, right? This contributory pension scheme is compulsory for staff across the private and the public sector, right? Under the scheme, you are to own a retirement savings account, like you explained, and then the account receives a dedicated amount every month. This amount usually amounts to about 15 to 20% of your salary. So it is contributed by you and the employer. That's one category. We have another category. This category is called the voluntary contributory scheme, meaning that after you and your employer, you've done the one that is compulsory. You're not like, let me put more. Let me add Jara. That is the contributory one. You are not obligated to. You can just say, you know what, I want to add more to what I'm currently obligated to contribute towards the contributory pension scheme. Now we have a third one, and that is why we have our special guest here with us. It's called the micro pension scheme. So the micro pension scheme came into play back in 2014. It's to make provisions for self-employed individuals and businessmen. Now, guys, I'm talking about it allows more flexibility for traders, professionals, entrepreneurs, self-employed individuals. Prior to Awabah coming into the space, I know that there's a micro pension scheme, but I never used to hear that buzz about it. Now with Awabah in that space, I'm hearing more. Like, I'm hearing more chatter, more buzz and everything. Let me throw it back to you, Tunji, about the work you guys have done in order to be able to create, transparency, visibility, amongst others. Tell us more about that.
To be honest, it can only be a life goal. It has to be your mission in life, because it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. We're selling a product to people who do not know they need the product, but need it desperately. And you're selling it for a very highly regulated industry where, standards must be met, and you're not trying to bend any rules. So you have to, fix on this side, but still push it on this side. So we've done quite a bit of work. We started out just making it, just going out to markets. We'll go to, there are videos of us in Dugbe Market in Ibadan. We've gone to Kwara. We have a fiscal office in Kwara. We have a fiscal office in Ibadan. We have a fiscal office in Abuja. We've basically just been going, hitting the ground, spreading the message. And honestly, I think this is what is more important for us. We have understood our market. We understand the customer. We're not trying to sell to Tosin.
Yes.
Tosin is if Tosin comes to buy our product, we will not say no, but we are unlikely to ever make messaging for Tosin. Why? Because we know that our market are people who are at that gig worker segment. So we've designed everything, we've created, we are talking price points, we're fighting partners. It's that deliberate attempt to make sure that the customer sees value. And there's a reason why micropensions hasn't worked as it should have worked. It's because, and this is why I had the inflection point about financial inclusion. What is the use of a bank account to Mama Risi? Mama Risi that sells in, I don't know, Ojalba or Balogu market. What's the real use? Somebody's going to say, to keep her money safe. She has the Alajo. She's been doing that for decades. She trusts the Alajo more than she trusts any bank. To transfer money? She could give it to Mama Bola, who is traveling to Ibadan, to give it to her child. She does transfers. What exactly? Loans? She has the Alajo to give her a loan. So basically, bank accounts do nothing for her aside take money from her. In thinking through our products, we needed to give value. The reason why Tosin is going to look at a particular product is that she thinks of the value. This is what it's going to give to me in X returns, blah, 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 blah. Why are we not thinking about them in that perspective? Do we think they don't see value? And this is why financial services have failed at that particular level. So we said, we want to give these people value. So we first started to sell micro pensions, but we said, let's bundle it together. Let's give them at a price point that they can't refuse. So we're giving them pensions, health insurance, life insurance, accident cover at $1,500 a month.
Wow.
I'm not joking. You can't find it anywhere else. But it's because we were like, we know who we are selling to. So we had to we took the products, we broke it down, broke everything down. It's like a car, right? We realized that Mama Bisi only needs the engine. So why do you need to put AC? Why do you need to put the fancy, windows? What do you need the power screens for? She needs the engine, right? So break it down. Just give her the engine. And that's what we've done. It's harder, but we've now finally seen that the people at that particular market segment of the spectrum, they have the same exact needs as we do. They've just always looked at it from the perspective of, that's just too expensive for me.
It's not for me.
It's not for me. So they're never going to buy it.
So why is it for them?
So I say this, right? And people have said things to me and say, oh, these people are so poor. Do you think they can't afford to, do you think they can afford to save? And I say, really, they cannot afford not to save. Because, if you think about it, retirement is that place where you don't have energy to work.
Yes.
A large portion of Nigerians' economy is people who go out every day and earn their daily 2K. If you remember COVID is that point where you realize that there is such vulnerability across Nigeria.
Yes.
Where people could not go out, could not earn, could not feed. Simple. It just, their inability to go out directly went straight to their ability to feed. That is scary. Now imagine when it is not that they can't go out because of COVID, but they are actually incapacitated, unable to go out. What happens to them at that point? We need to start thinking about them from that perspective. Plus, we have a Sorosoke generation. They're between 16 and 40. They're not going to remain 16 and 40 forever.
Absolutely. They're going to have kids. They're going to get older.
And then you're going to look at the poverty rate moving to that spectrum. Now you're thinking of healthcare. You're thinking of taking care of parents. You're thinking of, the multiplier effect is scary. It's weird that the government doesn't see it from this perspective. But I think that's why we exist. We've seen it. And our job is just to make sure that millions of Nigerians get to retirement, being taken care of as they're going to retirement. But when they get there, they meet something when they retire.
Great. I really love what you've shared. The other question I have for you is, how practical is it? So, for instance, Mama Risi is putting 1,500 naira away monthly. It covers insurance and pensions. When she hits retirement, is it really practical? Can it?
All right. So, yeah, that's the beauty of it. We are practical in the way we think about it. So, the money Mama Risi is putting aside from that 1,500 isn't a lot into her pensions. But Mama Risi needs to build the muscles. She needs to start seeing the practicality of what she's doing. If we wait for her to save 5,000, she's never going to do it. So let's come in at the point where she feels, I can afford to waste this money, right? 1,500 is probably what she can buy a meal with. So, and this happens regularly. So my people go to the markets and they tell them that, you can get this for 1,500, and they say, really? And you can see the look of disbelief in their eyes, like, I don't believe you. But the price you've told me is so low that even if you were lying and you were scamming me, I don't mind losing this. Fantastic. Just to be able to be sure that it's true. And the thinking is, as Mama Risi continues to do that, and then we come back to her after 6 months and say, Mama Risi, see what you've done. See what it's going to be in 20 years. But imagine if you could do this and this. And because she's already seen the value. So, and that is the only way we can go, because the financial industry has gone from the perspective of trying to force products down their throat. So, I use, HMO. These people should be able to see. And I'm like, they should? Really? We have different concerns at the base level. They want to feed first, they want to survive next, and then they can start thinking of all those other things. All
those other things look like luxury. See, I have to agree with you. Every time we talk about personal finance, 80% is mindset and 20% is knowledge. Absolutely. And the strategy you're going with is, number one, you're trying to build habits and you're trying to inculcate knowledge.
Absolutely.
So that in the next 6 months, Mama Risi can up again.
Exactly.
She can go to 5K, she can go to 10K.
And she has the money.
She has, and she just want to see that it works. So it's like a testing model. You're like testing.
Just giving her the test to see that the Lord is good. Yeah. So she comes back to me and she says, if she comes back to me in 6 months and says, Tunji, this thing doesn't cover my x-rays. And I'm like, well, we have a plan for that. This one doesn't, but there's a plan for that. This covers the basics, So, and there's actually a story. This guy signed up the day and went to the clinic 2 days after. Signed up 1,500 naira, and then got access to medication worth 15,000 naira. He calls the office and he's praying for us. And then he ends then after praying, then he now says, he's speaking Yoruba, right? Are you people sure you're making profit? Because he doesn't want us to close down now, because he's like, are you sure are you not going to increase the price? We're like, no, you don't understand how insurance works. It's
like Sade is covering Choma and Awa is covering Chukwudi, hoping that
so he was like, I was like, don't worry, you're covered, and he was like, okay, thank you very much, your children will be fine. Like, so that is, and the beauty of that is that he goes to his local
and he tells them, he
everybody
preaches
that this is what I just experienced.
Yes.
That this is what I could get for 1,500, and it's
Yes.
magic. And that is what we're doing. Really, that's all we're doing. Just using one person's story to help another.
others. This is like really brilliant in the sense that you practice by showing, right? So it's easy to tell. It's better to show,
Absolutely.
right? So once they've seen that it actually happened for one, then it's this is really exciting. I was on BBC about sometimes last year, and they asked me a question that, Tosin, are you excited about the Nigerian market? That we're seeing a decline in VC funding in the US. That what do you think about? And I said, listen, some of the forerunners of the fintech space in Nigeria are just 6 years old. If you look at the fintechs in the US, they're like 50 years old, 100 years old.
Absolutely.
Like, we're literally just scratching the surface. Imagine you're like the biggest player there, and about 160 million people. Do you get? There's
telling
work
you,
to be
I'm
done.
telling you.
There's a lot of work. So I'm so excited hearing about this. And we really want to provide, just keep sharing that message and saying it. I think my next question to you will be, what does the future look like? What are the next steps?
I don't want to sound crazy now.
It's okay to be crazy. On Money Africa's Money Talk podcast, we can be crazy.
So I totally believe what I'm doing is a vision that is bigger than myself, and ultimately I've seen it. So the context is our goal is to build the model financial institution for gig workers by the end of the
For
decade.
which workers?
Gig workers.
Tell me more about gig workers.
So gig workers are basically everybody that is not in a regular 9 to 5 but earning money. So your Uber drivers, your carpenters, your developers, your designers, everybody that is doing a gig. And our thought is the financial institution was never built for them. The financial institution was built to pattern after the 95ers or the millionaires. So if you are 95, the banks will cater to you. Or you have plenty money, the banks will cater to you. In between, you are just an orphan, really. Irrespective of whether you're earning or not, you're just an orphan. So think about what financial access an Uber driver has in a financial institution. He or she has to go to a third-party financial institution that will ask for collateral, this, right? Before they can give the person access to capital. But the person could go to a financial institution like a big bank and still get that financial assistance, but they will turn him down or her down because he doesn't or she doesn't have a salary account or the turnover isn't, right? So what we are thinking is, we want to be the provider of financial services. So think about our holdcos in Nigeria, but a holdco targeted at gig workers.
Gig workers, I get it.
So we're giving them their wallet services, we're giving them their insurance services, their pension services, their loan services, not too expensive credit. Because of course you have a plethora of services you're already giving to this person. Why are you not thinking about the customer from the perspective of the leverage I give to this customer to build to the next level? The customer will be with me for the next 20, 30 years. And I have a large number. I have 50 million people here who are working today, earning today, but somehow some are excluded from the financial services system. So that's what we're building. And the thought for me is, I want a connection between the people and their money. So is it possible that my pension savings could build an IPP in my local area? Now think about this. This is interesting, because if my pension savings builds an IPP like Mamarisi is saving in a pension fund, and the pension fund comes and invests in an IPP in that area, or through a vehicle and invests in the IPP in that area. If there's trouble within the area, who do you think is going to protect the IPP? It's Mamarisi's money. It's her retirement. She can see her money. She can feel it, right? She's proud about it. That is what we're trying to create. And this doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So that's why I think I'm a little crazy. But the general context is, we want to build the bank for the gig workers. And I hate the word bank. I honestly hate the word bank.
I get you.
But financial institution
for gig workers.
Exactly.
I want to quickly touch on something. You said you wanted, like, say for instance, Mama Risi can see her money working for her, but the pension industry is also regulated, and I love my data, right?
Yeah,
and based on the
it.
stats, about 60% of the money is going into FGN bonds,
Yes.
right? So how do you have a say in how the pension fund is going to invest Mama Risi's money?
So this is where I think I'm uniquely poised to be the one doing this. I have such a long-term focus on what we're doing that I'm ready to say the yes sir now, because I know in 3 years' time I'm going to ask you for something else.
Okay, great.
So when we came into the industry, and this is, I think I can say this on this podcast, and you probably will not hear this anywhere else. When we came into the industry and we said we wanted to do this for the industry, the fees we were being offered was 30 kobo.
Wow.
30 kobo. We were being offered 30 kobo. You would not believe my enthusiasm to take it. Why? Because the person offering me 30 kobo felt, I'm taking advantage of this guy. I'm seeing it from the perspective that you're allowing me to build the first steps to step 100. You might not see step 100. You're probably seeing step 1 and 2.
But I can see step 100.
I see step 100. And for the fact that you agreed, I know that this is the first step to step 100. So I was so excited about it. 2 years after, Awabah is just about 2 years old now. 2 years after now, we've been given we're now creating the first micro pension payment portal for the industry.
Well done.
So everybody that's going to pay micro pensions can pay through our portal. We are now a shared service provider for the industry.
Fantastic.
Where we're in the middle of industry and plugged to everybody.
Fantastic.
We now have direct correlations, as in we can now say we're an industry player.
I love that.
So for me, it was a case of there is a long step. So this is step 1. Step 2 is, okay, getting into bed. Step 3 is, sir, this thing that we're saving, the people want to see more on how it's going. And, we're pushing it step after step and step after step. And we believe that eventually we will get to that point. But it is something that we will never lose focus on, because we know that is the eventual goal.
Fantastic. I love that. I want to talk about something else right now. The number of people that have pension accounts and their age breakdown, about as at September 2022, this is the latest data, 9.79 million people have a pension account, right? And in the workforce, there are about 79 million people. So you can see that
there's a problem.
There's a problem. But stay with me, right? Now, in this breakdown, guess what, Tunji? And I know you already know this. 70% of those people are men, whereas just about 30% of them are women.
Sadly.
This is Women's Month. What can we do? What do you see could happen that we can actually increase those numbers?
So unfortunately, with those numbers, it's a more systemic issue. And that is because the labor force, the corporate labor force in Nigeria is skewed towards men. So, if you're going to capture the labor force, and there are more men than there are women in every organization, naturally, there will be more men in the pension system. We are seeing a flip, however, in micro pensions.
Interesting.
Awabah, we have over 60% of our customers being women.
Wow.
Generally because they're the ones likely to think more long term. They're the ones likely to think more holistic about future, family, kids. We need to protect this, what we call a home, especially in the gig worker segment, where you hardly find men very structured. You hardly find them that very structured and thinking into the future, but you find a lot of women more calculated about how the future is going to work. So we see more women there. And I think as we grow, we will see more women come through the gig worker segment. And if you even heard what I said, I focused on a Mama BC. She is our avatar at Awabah. She's the woman we've modeled everything that we've built around. Our brand ambassador is modeled after Mama BC. Everything we've done, the way we've created the product, the messaging, the everything, because we know that she is our primary customer. Concerning Women's Month, I generally think that going into the future, we're going to see more women come on the pension system, especially in Nigeria. Especially if the micro pensions is what we're going to use to grow the numbers of pensions in Nigeria, we're definitely going to see a lot more women. That I can guarantee.
Great. It's nice to hear. All right, great. We're coming to the end of the segment. I think the next last words for me is, whenever I think about retirement, whenever I think about insurance, I'm thinking security, I'm thinking long term, I'm thinking you're your biggest assets, I'm thinking you want to go towards old age in peace, right? So that way you can let your money work for you while you've done that work. What would be your final message to our listeners?
So I've always thought about retirement from the perspective of the earlier you start, the better. And it's all financial conversations, really. It's starting from your decision to buy bread and beans instead of fried rice and chicken. Those are the little decisions you make. But if you generally realize that, and looking at everybody in your family right now, looking at the mom, dad, uncle, especially the uncles and the aunties that are around you, your house may be comfortable, but if you look at your auntie, your uncles that, still come around at 67, 72 to come and ask for your dad for a little stipend, there's nothing as worse as debasing yourself to that point. Just having something that comes in regularly that you can plan around is the most brilliant thing ever. And I think that is what retirement really does. But I say this to people, and I've said it many times, pensions is not going to make you rich. Its sole purpose is to ensure that you are not poor. So think about it from that perspective, that I have guaranteed that I will not be poor. Now I can go out and do all the other things that can make me rich.
Fantastic. I love that way. I love it. Thank you so much, Tunji Andrews. Today we talked about pensions, retirement, and how to plan for the future. If you enjoyed this, do not forget to share this with your friends. And also please subscribe to our channel so you never get to miss your favorite podcast, Money Talk by Money Africa. Thank you.